And here we are in exercise 3. We are posting from the cash receipts journal and the cash payment journal to the general ledger. It's the third one of these exercises now, so I'm sure all of you are getting pretty good at it at this stage, but let's just go through it carefully and make sure you understand what's going on. Now, the main rule that we use when we're posting to the general ledger is the same one that we use in those account debit, account credit questions. And that's really, really important. If the business is receiving money, so that's what's happening if a transaction is in the cash receipts journal. The business is receiving money. In that case, then we would debit the bank account. So at the bottom here, I'm going to go and write debit in the bank account, and we would credit all other accounts. So we would credit current income, and then in our, that's where we have the totals of bank and current income. So it's a debit to bank, we credit anything else. So we've got those two over there that I've highlighted for the moment. That's really, really important. Debit, bank, credit, everything else. Now, let's just go over here to the sundry column. And these are other accounts, so we would have to credit all of those as well. So credit, capital, credit, rent income. So the only one we debited was bank. Every other account here was credited. So let's just highlight those so they kind of stand out a little bit. So debit, bank, credit, all of the others. Now, when we are posting to the general ledger, we actually need to know the folio numbers of the various accounts. So let's just go down to our general ledger and try and look for the bank account. Okay, there it is. So remember, the order is the owner's equity accounts, capital and drawings, then fixed assets. We have all three here: land and buildings, equipment, vehicles, and then bank, which is account B6. So that debit that I've got over here in my cash receipts journal will be to account B6. Okay, so it's quite important to put that in. Current income, we are crediting that. Let's go and have a look at which account that is. There's current income, obviously in the nominal section because it's an income. It's account N1. So it's going to be a credit to N1. Then here in the sundry column, we're crediting capital. That's always B1, but let's just go and check. Yeah, there it is, B1. It's the first account in the balance sheet section. So it'll be credit B1. And then we have another capital entry over there, so it's credit B1 as well. That's both going to the capital account. And then we have 2 for rent income. So let's just go down. That will obviously be in the nominal section because it's an income, and that's account N2 for rent income. So it's going to be a credit to account N2 there, and credit to account N2 there. Okay, so there we have it. Debit, bank, credit all the others. So let's go to the general ledger and actually do the posting. So that total there of 144,500, so it's 144,500 Rand, is going to the debit side of account B6. Okay, and it's August, that's of 2020 as well. Let's go to account B6, the bank account. So we're going to put over here 2020. It's August. Now we are posting the column total, so it'll be the end of the month's date. It's coming from the cash receipts journal, so I think we know by now. We say total receipts. And from the cash receipts journal, and it's for August, which is the 8th month, so it'll be CRJ8. Okay, so CRJ8 is what we've got over there. Now, the amount, if you'll recall, I'm not going to go up and down the whole time, but let's just look at the total of the bank column. There it is, 144,500. So let's go and put it in there. It'll be 144,500 Rand. So we've got that debit over there in the bank account. Okay, then if we go to our current income column, the total there was 28,000, and that's a credit to N1. So we're going to the credit side of the current income account, account N1. I'm just going to put the amount in before I forget it. I generally do it that way. And then let's just go and put all the other information in. 2020, it's August. It's the column total, so it'll be the 31st. And it definitely comes from the cash receipts journal, CRJ8, because because it's August. Now, what do we write here? Well, there's this important rule of double entry, so your debits and credits must match. So for this credit over here, I've just realized I've left out a zero, it was 28,000. So for this credit over here, we'll say, where is the matching debit? And that is going to be in the bank account. I'll say a little bit more about that later on in this video. Okay, but we need to write bank in there as the details. Okay, so that is the total. It was cash receipts journal, and the total of our current income column. So now we go down the sundry column, and we have to take these one by one. So first that 100,000 to the capital account. It's a credit to account B1, we see in the yellow there. Okay, so I'm going to my capital account B1. It was an amount of 100,000, which I'll just put in first, so don't forget it. And it's 2020, August. Now, this is not a column total. If we just go back there, you can see it's a transaction that was on the first of the month there. Oops, the first of the month. So it's not a column total, so we'll actually put the first as the day in our general ledger here. So we're just going to put the first, and then we're going to say, okay, it comes from CRJ8. What do we put as the details? Well, for this credit, where's the matching debit? It is in the bank account. Put that one in there. Let's go back to our cash receipts journal. Our next one here is on the 4th. So it's the third line down, but it's on the 4th, 3,000 Rand to rent income. So it's a credit to account N2. So nominal section, because it's account N2. The amount that we had was 3,000 Rand. And it was 2020 August. Now remember, that wasn't a column total. That transaction was actually on the 4th of August. We will put bank because that's where the matching debit is, and it comes from CRJ8. Okay, so we've got that one. Let's go back to our cash receipts journal. We've done those first two. Now it's this next one here on the 29th, and that's more capital that the owner put into the business. It's another amount of 10,500 Rand. So it goes to the capital account, which is account B1. Okay, so capital is always going to be account B1. In this particular exercise and generally. Okay, so we don't need to write 2020 August again. We could, but we don't need to. This transaction was on the 29th. So if it comes from the sundry, you put the actual date. Okay, it was bank, that's where the matching debit is. It came from CRJ8, and it was an amount of 10,500 Rand. Okay, so we've got that in. And I think we had one last transaction in the cash receipts journal. It was also on the 29th, and that was also rent income. It was an amount of 3,000 Rand to the credit side of our rent income account, which is account N2. So it's another 3,000 Rand. And that date was the 29th. And so the matching debit will be in the bank account. And that's CRJ8. And that's it. We've posted from the cash receipts journal. So what I'd really like to have a quick look at, just before I go further to the cash payments journal and post from there, I'm just going to make this all a lot smaller so we can see 2 pages at once. So there's our general ledger. And just make sure that I show you all of these accounts. So here in the bank account, we've got a debit of 144,500 Rand. Yeah, I know it's quite small, but hopefully you can see. So I'm just going to highlight it in that sort of reddish color. So we've got a debit there of 144,500 Rand. Then we've got a bunch of credits over here. So we've got those 2 in the capital account. Just change the color there as well. Got that one in the current income account. Like that. And then we've got those 2 up there in the rent income account. And what you will find, if you go and add up all of these credit amounts, the 100,000 over there, the 10,500 below it, and then these 3 credit amounts, the 28,000, the 3,000, and the 3,000, all of those will add up to this 144,500 on the debit side of the bank account. So that's what we mean when we say, for all of these credits, there's a matching debit in the bank account, of 144,500. So in each case where we've credited, we've written bank as our details over there. So I've put bank as the details because that's where I'll find the debit that goes with these credits. The problem though, in the bank account, you can't write down where all the credits are that go with this one debit because there's capital, current income, rent income. You just don't have enough space. So you just put total receipts and you're indicating it's the total of all the money you receipted in this particular month, which is August. Okay, so it's the principle of double entry. The debits and the credits must match perfectly. And that's what happens there. Okay, so what we need to do now is go and post from the cash payments journal. So there's quite a lot more going on in the cash payments journal. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so we can actually see quite a lot better. I think that's big enough. So the rule, if the business is paying money, and that's what's happening here, cash payments journal, is we would credit the bank account and we will just go through, oops, I should have moved to the next cell, credit the bank account and we will just debit all the others. So we'll debit material costs, we'll debit wages, we'll debit stationery. And there's a whole bunch of accounts here in sundry, but we would debit trading license, land and buildings, vehicles, equipment, drawings, telephone, drawings again, packing materials, water and electricity, and rates and taxes. So it's a credit to the bank account and debits to absolutely everything else. Okay, so I'm not going to go jump up and down the page the whole time and look for the folio numbers. We'll just remind ourselves of the bank account. That was account B6. So it's exactly the same as the cash receipts journal over here. We had a debit to B6 because that was the bank account. Now here, our bank column, it will be a credit to B6. Okay, now material costs, wages, stationery. If you go down there, we don't actually have those accounts there. However, after current income and rent income, there's a lot of blank accounts, and that's where those will go. So we're going to put in, Kevin doesn't want to type. I think I have an idea. Just change the automatic. There we go, material costs. Okay, I'm not, I am going to line it up just because I prefer to do it that way. With material costs, and you'll notice what I'm doing here with the N3. We would normally have it matching up with our folio column. And then we're going to have wages over there. We're going to put all of these other accounts in. And we don't need to get too pedantic. Okay, maybe we will get a bit pedantic, never mind. Okay, we've got wages, and then we've got stationery as well. And we can just move it that way. And pretty perfectly. Okay, so those accounts, material costs, wages, and stationery, I've just made N3, N4, and N5. They're all expenses, and so they're in the nominal section after the incomes. Let's go back here. So we're going to call material costs, we said N3. Wages is N4. Stationery is N5. Okay, so we have to go down our sundry accounts column. Trading license, there wasn't an account for that. Okay, but it's an expense, so that will be my next one over here. So I'm just going to put trading license in. Okay, I seem to be getting license. Let's put trading in. Seems to become some kind of magic going on here. It's a trading account, trading license, sorry, is N6. So it'll be N6. Now, land and buildings is our next one. That's a fixed asset, so is vehicles, so is equipment. We'll find all of those in the balance sheet section. And there they are. Land and buildings is B3, equipment B4, and vehicles B5. So land and buildings was B3, equipment was B4, and vehicles was B5. And then we have drawings as our next one. Now, drawings, we would find it's an owner's equity account, so it's B2. Always comes straight after capital. Then we've got telephone. Okay, that's going to be in the nominal section, and found where to put those expenses in. So we can just put it the next space in the nominal section, the telephone. Okay, so let's just move this a little bit to the left over there. So it'll be telephone. And then let's go back. So what did I make that? N7. Our drawings we've seen already, that's account B2. And then we've got packing materials, water and electricity, rates and taxes. Those are all going to go in the nominal section. So those will be N8, N9, and N10. They're all expenses. So it's packing material, water and electricity, and rates and taxes. So let's just go down here. I don't think we have enough space here, but never mind. So we're going to go packing material. Okay, it's this kind of ghost writing now. No, come on. So let's go packing material. Do it this way. And now it's not typing. This is just bizarre. Okay, there it is. Okay, I think there's something conspiring against me, but never mind. So we had packing material. We then had water and electricity. Then we would make that N9. That's what number I gave it earlier. Okay, so let's just go that way. And align this nicely. We generally have the account's name sort of centered over there, the water and electricity, and then the folio number a little bit further along, matching the folio column. Okay, so that looks absolutely fine. And then I had one more account, which was rates and taxes. And I've got a funny feeling I'm not going to be able to, okay, I will be able to copy it, but I'll have to go on to the next page. I was actually going to take that one and copy, go on to the next page, and then just paste, and hopefully this is going to work out. Okay, and then I'm just going to make that the rates and taxes account. And we call that N10. Okay, so it took a little while to prepare that. I mean, the good news is most times you will get these answer sheets given to you, but if not, it's fairly easy to do. Okay, so we've got all of those sorted out. And now we just need to go and post them. So what I'm dealing with is the highlighted information here. And let's go up here, go down there. Okay, so bank is the credit side of account B6, and it's that amount there of 95,290. So we're going to go here, and we're going to go 2020 August. It was a column total, so it'll be the 31st. From the cash payments journal, so it'll be total payments. From the cash receipts journal, it was total receipts. Now it's total payments. It's CPJ 8. And then the amount of the total of the bank column was 95,290. We're going to put that over there. So that's on the credit side in the bank account. Then we've got material costs, 2,400 debit side of account N3, wages 1,200 debit side of account N4, and stationery 210 debit side of account N5. I'm going to suggest you actually keep your workbook open on page 57, and I will go down and just stay on this page, and you can just kind of follow in your workbook as well. So these are all debits, and they're all column total. So it's going to be 2020 August the 31st, and it comes from 31st. It comes from CPJ 8, and the material cost column total was 2,400 Rand. Okay, now, for this particular debit, where's the matching credit? It's in the bank account, so we're going to put bank in there. And we'll do very similar things in the wages account, 2020 August. It's the 31st because it's a column total. We'll put bank because that's where the matching credit is. CPJ 8, and the wages total was 1,200 Rand. And in the same way, we will do stationery, 2020 August 31st, also column total, bank, CPJ 8, and the stationery total was 210 Rand. So they didn't buy much stationery that month. Okay, so those are all expenses. So they're all in the nominal section, and they're all debits because we were paying money. So it's credit bank, which we did, and then debit all the other accounts from the cash payments journal. Okay, back to my cash payments journal. I now need to go down the sundry accounts column over there and do those one by one in those accounts that I've marked over there. So just follow along in your workbook on page 57, as I mentioned, and we will go through these. Okay, so trading license we said was a debit to account N6. So I'm going to go 2020 August. Now this one is not going to be the 31st. Maybe I'm just going to pop up there quickly just to kind of emphasize this. It's from the sundry accounts column, so you will take the actual date, which is the first over there. It's the first of the month. So we need to put the first in. Okay, and you're still going to say bank because that's where the matching credit is. It still comes from CPJ8, that's your journal, and that amount was 450 Rand, the first entry in the cash payments journal. Okay, then we've got our three fixed assets here: land and buildings, vehicles, equipment, with their three amounts, and they're all going to be debits. We can see just next to them there. So everything else besides bank, everything else that comes from the cash payments journal will be debited. So I'm going to go and do those three over there. So land and buildings, 2020 August. Now that transaction, the second one down in your cash payments journal, was on the 2nd. So it's going to be bank. That's going to be our details. And then we're going to say it's CPJ8. That's where it came from. And the land and buildings we bought was 55,000. You know, the property prices these days, that's a very, very small property. Our next one was vehicles. So we go to the vehicles account. So it's 2020 August. Remember, everything besides bank is debited if it comes from the cash payments journal. So it is the 5th. So it's a 5. Bank comes from CPJ8. And then the vehicles amount, that third transaction down your cash payments journal, is 22,500 Rand. Then we had an equipment one. We're doing pretty much the same thing with all of these, all on the debit side. It's the 4th transaction down, and it was the 6th. You're going to put bank CPJ8, and the equipment amount is 10,900, all from your sundry accounts column. Okay, so let's just go back here. So I've just handled those three. I'm now going to do this drawings one. So it's a debit to account B2 of 100 Rand. Then I'm going to go on and do telephone, also a debit. The next drawings, packing materials, etc. So we're going to do all of the others in one go. So I'm going to start with that drawings one, which is on the 7th over here. Okay, so let's go to our drawings account. So it's the debit side. So it's 2020 August. Okay, that was on the 7th, as I've just said. Bank CPJ8. What was that drawings amount? It was 100 Rand. And that's that one done. Then we had telephone. We had to debit our telephone account. So let's just go down to our telephone account. It's going to be a debit. Say debit in 7, definitely the correct one. 2020 August. Okay, so the telephone transaction was on the 11th. Bank still CPJ8. I don't know why that one is on that particular side. Don't know why it bugs me either. And then we've got telephone, and that one actually we need to go to the right over there. And that's going to be 590 Rand was the amount. It's the, from your cash payments journal, the one that we said debit N7. Then we had another drawings transaction of 400 Rand. So let's go back to our drawings account B2. So this one, I'm just going to go back to my cash payments journal just to point out the one that I mean. It's this drawings here of 400 Rand, and it's part of that Telkom transaction on the 11th. So this is all one transaction. So the date is the 11th, and the drawings amount is over here. It's 400 Rand. Let's go to our drawings account. On the 11th, we'll put bank because that's where the matching credit's going to be, CPJ8, and it was 400 Rand. The one after that is packing materials. So I'm going to go there. It says packing materials in the question. 2020 August. The date for the packing materials one was the 14th. It's going to be bank, our details, CPJ8, and then it is going to be, what was packing materials? 200 Rand is our amount there. Okay, and then there's the water and electricity transaction on the 20th. So yeah, all of them debits other than bank itself. Water and electricity transaction was on the 20th. So it'll say bank, maybe CPJ8, and then the amount is 840 for water and electricity. So hopefully you're following in your workbook. That's the second last transaction in the cash payments journal. And the very last one was our rates and taxes over here. So it's going to be 2020 August. And that was also on the 20th because we were paying that to the city council. So just to go back to the cash payments journal so you can see what I mean here. So this is all one transaction because it's one check 008 on the 20th paid to the city council for 1340, but the rates and taxes amount is 500 Rand. The rest was water and electricity. So we paid the city council for two things with one check. So you're going to put bank, maybe CPJ8, and then our amount, we said for rates and taxes was 500 Rand. And that's it. We've posted to the cash payments journal, but I just want to go back and just look at the two pages next to each other. In fact, I've gone on to a third page, so maybe not the cleverest thing I've ever done in my life, but not a major problem. So here, if we have a look, we've got our two ledger pages there. I'm just going to go a tad smaller so you can, and that's not really what I want, so I'm going to have to go a bit bigger again. Okay, so you'll kind of get a rough idea. If you go and look at your bank account, so that credit over there, I'm just going to make a blue color over there. So that credit of 95,290 that I've got over there is going to add up to all of these debits. So we've got these debits over here. Got another debit here to land and buildings. Got a debit in the equipment account. Got a debit in the vehicles account. And if we go up here to our nominal section, we've got a debit in each of those expense accounts. So there's material costs, there's wages, there is stationery here as well. Okay, then there is trading license, there's telephone. We've also got some packing material. Now I just need to scroll down a tad. Got water and electricity. So these are all debits that came from the cash payments journal. Those are the ones I'm highlighting in blue. And then on my last page over here, I've got rates and taxes all in its own there. So highlighting those in blue. So the point I'm trying to make, if you take all of the debits I've highlighted in blue, and there are a lot of them, and if you add up all of the amounts, then it will equal that 95,290, the one credit that I've got in blue. So in the cash payments journal, it's a credit to bank, 95,290. It's a bit small to see, but that's it over there that I've gone over in gray. And that will equal the total of all the debits that come from the cash payments journal that are in blue now. And then the cash receipts journal is exactly the opposite. I did that in red earlier. You can actually go and check on your calculator if you want to, but I think right now it's time for me to I was going to end the video, but of course I can't end the video because I need to do some balancing and totaling. So forgive me for that. Let's just go from the top down. So what I need to do here is in the capital account, I'll make this a little bit bigger so it's much easier to see. There are two amounts. If there are two amounts on the same side of an account, you would just total. So I would just go over here. And I'm just actually going to go and draw a nice bold line underneath. Come on, here we go. It's not going to work for me. Okay, I'm just going to indicate that I'm putting in the total. I don't need a calculator, 110,500 Rand if I add those up. So some people call it a hanging total. If there's more than one entry on the same side of an account, you just add them up, total them up. That's it. The drawings one in a very similar way. If I just go over there, I'm just going to go and draw a line underneath. And then I will just add up my 100 and my 400. That's those two amounts over there, the 100 and the 400. Definitely no calculator, you get 500. Land and buildings, equipment, vehicles, there's just one entry in each account. So I actually don't need to do anything at all, just leave them. Okay, so now we go to our bank account over here, which unlucky me has gone on to the next page. So what I'm going to do is just create some space up here, sort that out. So what we need to do is look at our bank account. The bigger the bigger amount is 144,500 on the debit side. It's bigger than the amount on the credit side. So I'm going to need to say that our total on both sides will have to be 144,500. And then the total here is going to also be 144,500 because we are balancing it after all. Okay, so I'm just going to go and draw some nice bold lines here. There and there. And let's go and put one there and one there. And then what I'm going to do on my credit side is I'm going to go and put balance carried down because that's where I'm going to have to add something in. So it will add up to that total. Okay, so I'm sitting here at home and I don't have a calculator with me, but I think I can actually do this using my brain. So I'm going to give it a go anyway and hopefully not make a mistake. So that's certainly going to do the 500. And then we've got 95 over there, so I'm pretty sure that has to be 49. I'm just going to check that I haven't done anything completely stupid. So if I add that up, I do get 500. And moral of the story, next time I have a calculator next to me. And then if I add this up here, 5 and 9 is going to be 14. Yeah, that looks good. So I will check it with a calculator afterwards before I dare to post this. Sorry. And then what we're going to do now for our balance brought down, it's going to be the next month. I could have typed the 2020 if I'd wanted to, but the year is the same, so there's no need. It'll be the 1st of September, and it's going to be balance brought down in this case. And the amount is going to be that balancing figure that I put there. So it's going to be 49,210. 49,210. Okay, so we've balanced the bank account. Current income, just one entry, just leave it. The rent income account here, we're just going to total. We're not actually going to balance. So just put a little line there. And I'm just going to put, that's an easy one to add. We need a calculator for that. And I think everything else, we've just got one entry in each of the accounts. That's it. So now we are really done with the exercise. You should always do the balancing in the bank account where you'll have entries on both sides. So it's the carried down, brought down balancing. Then any other account where you've got more than one entry on the same side, just total the way I have. Okay, I think that's really it for this video. We are actually done now. I hope that made sense, and I'm going to stop recording.